welcome to the Flow Forward AI-driven dealer management, the show where we explore the future of automotive growth and resilience in global markets. I'm your host Akhil Laroya, Sales Director at NetFlows 360. Today's episode is all about a subject that defines whether an auto brand succeeds or struggles when it goes global. Resilient dealer networks for global growth. Dealer ecosystems are the backbone of market expansion, and in emerging economies, they often determine whether an OEM can secure trust, visibility, and long term leadership. To help us unpack this, I am joined by someone who has built and transformed dealer strategies across some of the most challenging markets worldwide. My guest today is Mr. Sujan Roy, CEO of Mercedes-Benz Titanium Motors. Mr. Sujan has propelled auto brands in electric vehicles, passenger cars, commercial vehicles, and even defense vehicles. His track record includes leading Tata Motors' export division to profitability, as well as taking Ashok Leyland to the number one position in Bangladesh. Mr. Sujan, welcome to the show. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here.
Thank you so much. So nice to be here, Akhil.
Great, sir. So we'll quickly hop on to the agenda. So to begin, I'd just like to ask that you've scaled dealer networks in diverse and often challenging markets across Asia and Africa. So from your perspective, what could be the top two, three factors that make dealer ecosystems truly resilient in the automotive sector?
I am a great fan of the way Japanese manufacturers operate. I've worked with Toyota Lexus on the distributor side and with Honda on the OE side. And one thing that I love about the Japanese is the amount of study and amount of rigor they bring into anything that they do. Similarly, when it comes to entering a new market and appointing a new dealer or a distributor, I would advise the number one thing that is important from an OE point of view is the amount of study, the amount of data, your thorough understanding of the market, its trends, its past, its present, and its future. Gather as much data as you can. Ultimately, it is these reams of quantitative information that will stand you in good stead. Unfortunately, many of the challenging markets in Africa, data is not available. So you have to be ready to accept surrogate data, data which works instead of the data that you expect from hard-boiled and developed markets. Wherever you can get data, whatever you can glean from it is important. So that's item number one. I definitely believe that measure 10 times, cut once. So getting the data right before you choose for a dealer is very important. The second thing I feel is extremely important is the amount of handholding you provide dealer. What is the level of standards that you specify to him? There are some people who get upset. Do I have to spoon feed the dealer? If the dealer has to be spoon fed to this extent, why do I need a dealer at all? I can do it myself. No. If you do not guide the plant when it's young, if you do not shape its direction, it will grow into a jungle. So good dealership comes with a lot of handholding, a lot of standard setting, a lot of manuals, being present for all the initial hires, training them, ensuring that his standards are as good, if not higher than yours. And no one does it better than the Germans. When I look at how Germans run their dealerships, there is a place for everything, and everything has to be in its place, whether it is processes, systems, or even the hand wash in the washroom. So that is something which the hand holding and the setting down of processes, the Germans seem to do very well, not so much the Japanese. And finally, something which is absolutely at the heart of business. Why do we do business? Why does the dealer do business? He does it because he wants to make a profit.
Correct.
There should be a clear path to profitability, and the ROI should come in as soon as possible. You have to understand that here is a man who has trusted you, who has trusted your brand, and invested millions of hard-earned money into a venture. How soon can you bring him to profitability, and what is the path towards profitability that you can show him? And that means leaving aside these beautiful Taj Mahal projects. If your profitability comes from having a humble showroom in the beginning, then so be it. But you have to give a clear path to him that this is the day that you will start finally getting back the money that you have invested. When you reach this position, then we air condition your showroom. When this happens, we do this. When this happens, we do this. There have been situations in places like Sri Lanka and in Africa where the profitability was not, the path to profitability was not very assured. I have gone against the company norms and set up container showrooms. So there is a container where the salespeople sit, which is air conditioned. There is a small washroom behind which the customers and the staff can attend to, and there is an interlock tile yard in front of it with this ordinary, flexible roof under which the vehicles are parked. Once the dealership starts getting traction, it starts making money. That is only the first occasion where we break ground and start building something actually. So these three things are, in my opinion, fundamentals of a good dealership network, starting with the dealership network in a country.
Right, sir. That's, I think, a very deep take that you've shared with all of us. And I mean, with your kind of experience, I'm sure that whoever this podcast reaches out to, they will definitely gain out of the starting discussion that we've, begun. So, moving on to another aspect of the dealer network. In export led markets, I've seen that OEMs often face fragmented dealer operations and somewhat inconsistent reporting. So, how important is it for OEMs to then adopt to connected dealer systems to maintain that kind of visibility and control across their geographies?
Connected dealership systems is a luxury, in my opinion. With if you have a good and robust connected system, then it is very easy to tie everything together. It is the cable or a common thread which ties all your dealerships together. But many of the markets that Indian OEMs operate in do not have good connectivity.
Correct.
So there may be chances that a connected system is only a dream. However, whether you have a connected system or not, there is a need for clarity. There is a need for clarity in terms of some basic simple matrices that need to be reported by the dealer on a daily basis. These are the matrices which come on a weekly basis. This comes on a bi-monthly basis. This comes on a quarterly basis. So you should have a clear cadence shared with the dealer with formats, and it should be simple. Please understand that in most locations, firstly, the dealer personnel and the people who are going to report are not of the caliber that you are seeing in your OEM. Obviously, if you are operating out of Madagascar or Malawi or Zambia or something, the caliber of the people is going to be far less. You have to account for that. And it has to be simple for a person who has the level of intellect that an average 8th standard dropout would have in India. You have to make it simple. You have to have the clarity that these are the matrices, these are the formats. Blindly, even a person. I used to have a boss who used to have a benchmark. There used to be a local lady in our distributorship. She was very rudimentary. She was very earthy. She was not very well educated. He would always say, take this format, explain it to her, ask her to fill it and bring it back. If she is able to fill it, then I will approve it for everybody. So you need to have this benchmark that it has to be so simple that even a child can fill it. And that is the way you go about building your systems. You have to keep it simple. There has to be clarity of purposes. And in fact, the periodic audit of those reports, you're getting some reports, but someone has to go and check whether indeed if he has seven vehicles in stock and they are on display and three are kept behind and two are being used for test drives, indeed that is the case, because very often people get lazy, people make simple mistakes. People's understanding, no matter how many times you explain to them, would be different from yours because they come from very different background, different culture. So nothing beats feet on the street. Your people should go to that country, no matter how war torn or how God forsaken it is, and actually do the audit. Okay, this is the report you sent me last week. Let us go and see. Okay, you had seven vehicles. Yeah, okay, these seven vehicles are there. Why is there an eighth vehicle? Oh, this is the test drive vehicle. Okay, what are the two test drive vehicles? This one is there. Where is the other one? So you have to actually have feet on the street who do the hard work of going through and ticking against the boxes and seeing that the basic matrices are followed. No amount of connected systems can take away from the diligence of having your people go into the market, walk the streets, and feel the dust of the market with the dealer. So that is, in my opinion, it is very important. And simplicity, simplicity, simplicity. No matter how good your connected systems are, look at the what to say simplest system that you can enable. One of the joys of operating with Toyota is that they believe in this mantra of simplicity. So, Toyota products are not very high tech, most of them. They are very simple products. And yet they lead the entire industry predominantly because this attitude of having clarity of thought and simplicity of execution permeates everywhere. With your permission, I can relate a small anecdote.
Sure, sure.
So I was responsible for one of the largest distributorships for Toyota in the Middle East in terms of ordering. I'm talking about the 90s, and those days the finest technology available was a fax machine. So what you do is you take out a printout in Excel of what your orders have to be, the model type, option, color, everything down to the last detail. And you say, okay, so many 20s, so many 25, so many 11, 12, you put in a column. There's an empty column next to it. You fax it to Tokyo. There's a lady who takes your fax, sits down and writes in the empty column with a pen how much they are able to deliver. Usually they would deliver what I would ask for. On some models there might be constraints, or some colors there might be constraints, so they will make that thing. So I've asked for 10, say, Hilux pickups of dark green color. The lady would put two and circle it, that this thing is different from what you've asked. So then I would get on a call with her, negotiate, and she would send me the facts back saying that no, I have to deliver three vehicles. A single customer is buying it, or five at least minimum. There is a negotiation back and forth. And finally, what is agreed on the call, she will put it on a third column, write it down in neat handwriting, and send it to me. Yeah. So that becomes my order for the month. These 20 sheets of faxed paper. At the same time, General Motors, which was across the street, had a very high tech system. It involved satellite connections and this and that. And so we were very fascinated about this. One had read about it in those days. Automotive News was a magazine which used to come, and we had read about the much wanted General Motors system, which was supposed to be the most sophisticated in the world. So one day I met up with my counterpart in the General Motors dealership, and I told him that I heard that you have a very sophisticated system. You trained on it and this and that and all that, and I was majorly impressed. Suddenly, a thought came to me, and I asked, "How many wrong orders do you receive? There's a mismatch between what you order and what you get." So he thought about it, and he said, on a normal month, we get about 6 to 7% wrong orders. So he ordered something, he ordered 100 cars, of which 6 or 7 cars were wrong from whatever he had ordered. So he asked me, so Mr. Roy, how many wrong orders have you got? I said, I have been in this job for 7 years. In 7 years, I think I know of only three vehicles which have come wrong. So, so that is what says it does not matter how sophisticated your system is. It should be
Right.
simple enough for people to uh, implement it without problem. There should be check and balances. No
Of
wonder
course.
Toyota has this word called pokayoke. Pokayoke is a Japanese word which means that you can't fit it wrong. If there is some way to make a system so that even the biggest idiotic person cannot fill in something wrong, That
Right.
is a Pokai. For example, in a numeric field, if you enter A, B, or C, it says, sorry, it's a numeric field only. That's a Pokayoke. So it is necessary to make systems with Pokayoke so that it is simple and error proof.
How beautiful your thought process and the insights that you've brought to the table, sir. So, and I think as far as I've understood from what you've shared, it's always important to one, keep things simple, two, have your ears to the ground so that even with the best of the systems available in the market, your people know what's actually happening on the ground. So for any OEM, I believe, as I understand from your inputs, it is important that your people own the brand in the market. They move out with the dealers. They are there with the dealers. The best of the dealer management systems with highly sophisticated AI technologies will work effectively only if the brand ownership comes on the ground. Am I correct in saying that?
100%. 100%.
Good, good, sir. So let's then move on to another thing that's been on my mind. So in emerging markets, often there are so many regulatory hurdles. There could be supply chain bottlenecks, and of course, the biggest thing, there could be a talent gap. So how can digital platforms help OEMs and dealers standardize their operations while still adapting to the local realities?
So I will address the talent gap part first.
Sure.
Uh, in, Inevitably, if you want to grow in a market, you have to have local talent. There is no substitute for local talent who are taking the key decisions. So your system should be such that you are able to pick the best people, train them, groom them, and put them back into the market. In Ashok Leyland, for example, I saw a very robust system whereby graduate trainee engineers were recruited from the crucial markets in Africa.
Okay.
Smart young people, they were brought over to Hosur. They were trained for 3 weeks. They ate South Indian food and they learned everything about Ashok Leyland, and they went back. And when they went back to the market, they were totally aligned to the company. They had not worked ever before. This
Hmm.
was their first hands-on experience. And eventually, I'm hoping that if on a yearly basis, about 50 graduate trainee engineers are taken, two from every country. Over a period of 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, some of these would stay with the company and grow with the company and assume positions of leadership.
Right.
Who are you and I to dictate what the Senegalese customer wants better than a person who's natively Senegalese? Or
Correct.
even from the neighborhood Ivory Coast. Definitely, a person sitting in Chennai would not be able to know more or discern more about the market than a person who's sitting in the same market, has grown up in that culture and is connected. So that is the first thing. I'm reminded of my early days with a German manufacturer. We just started off in the company, and we used to get very weird combination of colors coming through. This was a time about 15 years ago where black exterior shade was not very popular in India. People used to consider it inauspicious, and we were
Yeah.
getting predominantly black cars. So I, as the head of product for that company, I was very flustered. Who's deciding the colors? I rampaged around the office and no one could say who was deciding the colors. So we decided it must be the plant. So the next day I went to the plant and I rampaged through the plant trying to find out who's deciding the colors. And they said, we don't know. You are the guys deciding. So ultimately we reached an impasse where no one knew who was deciding the colors. And every month we would get 60% black, 55% black, and a smattering of the other colors that we actually needed. Until one of my German colleagues, he was in the plant in Germany, and he saw someone diligently entering numbers for India into the computer. And he asked him, who are you? He says, I'm an intern. I'm doing my internship here. What are you doing? He says, I'm entering the colors for the vehicles to be sold in India. Says, how are you deciding the colors to be sold in India? Have you been to India? He says, no, I've never been outside Europe, but I had gone on a vacation to Russia because my mother is Russian. And there I saw predominantly black cars. Since Russia is part of the BRICS and India is part of the BRICS, I thought that, the same color ratio should predominantly work, which is why I put in 60% or 70% of black cars into the order for India. And that gentleman was so, excited. He called me from there on an international call, which was very expensive. I found a guy who's entering colors into the machine.
Yeah,
So that shows that here he was entering it in full faith. But there we were here in India sitting and scratching our heads, who's deciding these colors? So you need local people to decide on the critical matters. And that is why you would see brand after brand in India, fabled global brands have come and failed and gone
yeah.
back after a few years. That's because at their decision-making levels, they had expats. And before the guy got to know where Vijayawada was from Visakhapatnam, he was already on his way back home. Yeah. So that is the first thing. The second part is that you have to account for the inevitable chaos with international markets. People feel India is chaotic, but once you start selling abroad, you will realize how difficult it is because of shifting rules. There are no rules. Often there are no rules,
Yeah.
and you will always have entrenched players who will try to create more problems for you. And it is very easy to create problems in international markets. So you have to, whoever says in a business plan that year one launch, year two 8% market share, year three 15% market share and profitability. Either he's a fool, he doesn't know how international markets work, or he's trying to fool the management. In reality, international markets don't work that way. You have to go in with a plan where you have to be 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. Just look at the number of Indian players who went to Indonesia, who went to Thailand, stayed there for 6 months, 8 months, 10 months, 2 years, 3 years, and came back. I merely have this to say of them, that General Motors went back from India without seeing success. Ford went back from India without seeing success. It took 20 years for a company as strong as Toyota to make any profit in India. You think you can walk into Thailand and Indonesia, which are for many reasons much more evolved than India, and expect to see profit within 3 years, 5 years, 10 years? You should stand on your feet for 20 years like the yogis of fable, like this. Develop your talent chain who are local Indonesians and Malaysians and Thais, and only then you will see success. So
Right.
that is about the changing norms and changing regulations part of it. But yes, connected systems bring structure to it. They bring a certain immediacy to it. So you don't have to wait for someone to pick up the phone and call you back. The numbers talk to you, the data talks to you, the connected system talks to you and tell you that you are headed for a disaster this month. Please take steps immediately.
True, sir. True. I think I do agree with what you've said, and obviously, as you've rightly stated, that it's more about the connected systems providing you with accurate information, with so much of insights. But then you have to be patient as an OEM, as a brand, and you have to travel that journey because things will evolve as you evolve in that geography you are present in. So, can't agree more with you, sir. So, I think with that, we can move on to the next section. Another interesting thing that we have, which we are curious to ask from you. So, what's happening is we all can see these trends of EVs and new mobility solutions gaining traction. So, what role do you see that dealer networks would be playing in building customer trust, especially around after sales charging and service kind of infrastructure? Because this is something which is really, um, grasping pace like anything in even if we talk only about the Indian subcontinent and people buying into the I don't say hype, but there is so much noise around EVs these days that you tend to get into that kind of whirlwind around these EVs. So what's your take on that?
So first, I would say that the whirlwind has quite a lot died down because 5 new EV companies being launched every week is now a thing of the past. Thankfully, as I don't know who had said it. I think it was Mr. Bajaj who said that once the monkeys exit the circus, the real serious players will come to play. So by and large, the monkeys have exited the circus, and the EV game is getting to be much more serious in India.
Right.
Uh, regarding how to handle the trust at the dealership and handle the CS customer service related issues, charging issues, you have to understand that every brand is ultimately a statement of trust. How you are building up the trust, and trust comes from customer experience. You may have the most brilliant brand in Switzerland, but if your customer experience in India is terrible, he doesn't care. And especially a hard headed customer like in India or any of the third world countries. Yeah. These people are very, very rational people because they don't have any other option. They are investing their hard earned money in your product. They have to check with you 101 times to be sure, especially if it's a commercial vehicle. If you are a person who's taking a loan to buy a three-wheeler and your family runs at the end of the day, whatever is the margin which is left after your expenses, that is the money on which your family runs. Having an unreliable product could kill you. I worked for 8 years in Oman, where the fishermen, the farmers, the cattle herders used to use Toyota pickups. And I used to represent that product. So I would go and check with them, why do you not buy any other pickup? They are cheaper, they're as good. They would say, listen, if while I'm driving across the desert, the product fails, and this is the day before cell phones, and anyway, in the middle of the desert, there were no cell phone networks. If the product fails, by the time rescue comes, I'm already dead. My bones are bleached in the desert. Yeah. So, and a person in a three-wheeler owner or a small truck owner in India is not very different because he's got his EMI running. The
True.
company will not say that, hey, let me stop your EMI because your truck is lying there without parts.
Correct.
So ultimately, a brand is built on trust. And this is why Chinese manufacturers have not been able to get traction in many of the third world countries because they are, sell it, shut it, forget it. They come, they sell 200 vehicles and they forget it. No training, no spare parts, no special tools, no processes. You want 200 vehicles? Okay, good price. I make good price. And someone who doesn't know the industry buys 200 vehicles, and the next day he realizes there is a particular tool which is required to open a particular part not available. And that is why Indian brands like TVS, like Bajaj, have captured the two-wheeler market in Africa. That is why you will see Bajaj three-wheelers and TVS three-wheelers plying all over Africa. It is because there is a structure to how you go about providing the CS, the customer service angle of it. And I sincerely believe that the first vehicle or first product is sold by the sales guy. Every subsequent product in these third world markets, these value conscious, price conscious market, is sold by the service and the quality of the service. If your quality of service is not good, you can yell from the rooftops, you can offer discounts, gifts, iPhones, it won't sell. So that is very important. As far as charging network is concerned, in India, the charging story is very, very sad. It is a rigmarole of complicated things and a patchwork of multiple players. You need multiple permissions to set up a charging network. There are no fast chargers. What we call fast chargers are pitifully slow by global standards. I mean, if you have to see a country which is third world, which has bigger challenges than India, but still has a fabulous charging network, Nepal is the country to go to. If you go and see in Nepal, they have beautiful charging networks all over the nation. They operate flawlessly, and that is why I think 60 to 70% of the new vehicles sold in Nepal are electric. Whether it's commercial vehicles, personal vehicles, 70% of the vehicles sold in Nepal are electric. And it came out of a compulsion. Nepal faces a huge challenge in terms of fuel imports every month. Their balance of payment situation was wrecked by just importing fuel. and they had plentiful resource in the form of hydroelectric energy. Every little stream, every little waterfall, they could put up small turbines and generate electricity. And so they had electricity in plenty. They had to use it to replace oil. So they did not have any option, which is why they went electric. And they were, because of that compulsion, they had a gun to their head and they executed flawlessly. If a country like Nepal, with the kind of challenges, geographic, monetary, technical, is able to execute charging so flawlessly, I find it very sad that India is not able to do it. Maybe we haven't been pushed to the edge. Maybe the government is not as interested, as serious about it. Maybe there are vested interests acting against it. Maybe it is all of the above.
True. I think, yeah, you've aptly summarized it. So at times, I think for everyone to be driven in the same direction, it requires a bigger agenda than you and me just thinking about our profits. So maybe that's where people now would be thinking from. So
Again, as
that's
one of my bosses used to say, never waste a good crisis. Use a crisis to fix things which would otherwise not be fixable. I mean, Manmohan Singh and Narasimha Rao fixed our economy for the good because we were driven to the wall. And
right.
Nepal did that with electric vehicles.
True, sir. True. So we'll quickly hop on to the concluding section of our discussion today, and that actually revolves around a very important question for Indian OEMs. So obviously everyone is looking to expand globally. So from your viewpoint, from your experience, your expertise, what practical lessons from your, let's say, Asian and African experience could they utilize to, strengthen their dealer strategies while staying competent in a fastly evolving market? So what's your thing for every OEM in India?
Firstly, earlier on when one started out, exports posting was seen as a uh, plum posting or a prize posting for the best performers or the people who are connected to the top people. Their kids would be put into the export department because in the 90s, people really craved to go abroad, even if it meant going to Nepal and Sri Lanka. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thankfully, in 2025, that is no longer the situation. But then the deal has totally flipped opposite. You find people who are not able to perform in domestic or who are troublemakers, who are pushed into exports just to get them out of the way. And exports is in many organizations is no longer seen as a prime area to go to. It is a place where underperformers and troublemakers are pushed into. The fact is, neither is the right way to set up an export department. You need to find people who are passionate about traveling, people who are willing to take the hardship to go and create markets where no one has gone before. A person who would happily pick up a ticket on Afghan Air and fly to Kabul, despite all the horrible things one has heard about it, just for the sake of starting a market in Kabul. These are people who don't worry about food. If they're vegetarians, they carry their food with them. They don't worry whether the hotel is a grand one. If you get a Ritz and you're eligible for it, stay in the Ritz. If you don't, and you get what you get is a rock walled dharmashala sort of place, you're okay with it. You need people with that kind of passion. You need people who will say, of the 54 nations in Africa, I have been to 64. How is it 64? Because these nations have got renamed, so now they are different nations.
right.
You need people with a passion for exports. You need to find those people and put them to it. Ultimately, building a brand outside your comfort zone is a lot of hard work. And
Right.
without passion, you won't find people who will sit in the middle of Ethiopian Airlines and take 17-hour flight in economy. Yeah. So finding the right people to head your exports division is very important. These are the people who will take you from a bit player in India to a massive player in Africa, to take you to the Jans and Stans, to put you into all those war-ravaged Middle Eastern markets. I love it when I see footage of Afghanistan, Syria, Iraq, and see in the background there are TVS and Bajaj three-wheelers moving around. That means someone has gone and taken the pain and put up those products. Someone is, sending parts there. Someone is training those people there. Such a joy to see an Indian product in a situation like that. I was
How
once
true.
touring around a country called Gambia. Very few people have heard of it. It's a tiny little country called Gambia. And we had just sold about 50 plus buses. And I was taking a tour of the country with the president himself. And deep interior Gambia, somewhere I see a shop with the name Guru Nanak Spare Parts. I said, my God, I'm home. Guru Nanak Spare Part in the deep interior of Gambia means some Sardarji has taken the guts to go to a country which no one had heard of and open up a spare part shop. And I can be sure that, if I start selling Indian products, Guru Nanak Spare Parts will support Mahindra, he'll support Tata, he will support Bajaj, he will support Eicher, he will support Ashok Leyland. And it is, people don't realize the Indian diaspora is all over the world. And
Right.
often the diaspora can open the routes to many of these markets.
Quite right, sir. And I think again, you were bang on saying this that your observation for looking out for Indian brands in global markets that comes from your philosophy of knowing that someone would have taken that pain and effort and aligned with the brand's philosophy to set up in an alien land. And obviously, that requires much more than your willingness to travel and other things. It's obviously more about passionate individuals reaching out to different geographies and taking Indian brands everywhere across the globe. So that's how you've also very beautifully summarized Indian diaspora's strength. And I am sure that anyone who gets a chance to listen to our conversation today would understand that other than things like very advanced technologies and systems in place, it is your people who ultimately become the assets for the brands. It is those people who would be the flag bearers for the brand. So, with emerging technologies, with so much advancement in dealer management systems and technologies dealers are using, OEMs are implementing and deploying for their networks, it becomes imperative that their teams and their people are also aligned, and they can use it with as simple ways and in simple straightforward ways in which maybe a eighth standard dropout would. So
No, I
that's
make no mistake about it. A connected system is a force multiplier.
yeah.
It's like having an Apache helicopter to attack, do your ground attack. But
Right,
you still need people, you need good people to handle those Apache helicopters. They need to be trained well, they should have the aptitude and above all the passion. Yes, a connected system is a force multiplier. It can turbocharge your business.
right.
But ultimately, the basics still have to be in place. And then with a connected system, you can do wonders.
True, sir, true. And with that, I think we'll conclude and summarize the session. So it's been great having you on the show, sir, to begin with, and thanks for sharing your journey and sharing with us that yes, it's ultimately the people who will drive these advanced systems in the market and build those resilient dealer ecosystems while everything happening on the digital side keeps happening. It is important that the resilience is there. I just wanted to thank you for being there today with us on this podcast, and the things that we discussed today. I'm sure every OEM brand in India and even I think global. So it's always like there are companies looking for expansion out of India, and then there are so many brands which are trying to set up their shops in India. So I'm sure this becomes an important groundwork for everyone to understand that with your advanced systems and processes and protocols and SOPs in place, it is important that you have the right people aligned with you to make the brand a success. So that's about it. Really wanted to thank you for being there today. And I think if today's conversation sparked ideas about strengthening dealer networks for any brand globally, I would request everyone to follow this podcast. The name is The Flow Forward AI Driven Dealer Management. And we'll have more such discussions with experts such as Mr. Roy. So until next time, stay resilient, stay connected, and keep driving growth. Thanks a lot,
Thank you so
Mr.
much.
Roy. It was a pleasure having you today with us. Thank you.
Likewise. Thank you.
See
Thank you.
you.
Bye bye.
See you. Thanks. Bye.